All right. All right.
Would you like me to start, Carlos?
Either way is fine.
Okay, well, we'll start tonight's meeting, the City of Olivet's Planning Community Design Commission for November 21st, 2024 to order. Mr. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Member Tim Spiegelglass, absent. Member Daniel Rosenberg,
Present.
member Laura Ragsdale,
Present.
member Petrie Powell, absent. Secretary Sam Wallach, present. Vice Chairman Brian Lewis,
Present.
and Chairman Rob Dragell.
Present.
All right. You want me to take it from here, Rob?
That would be fantastic. Unless you
Uh,
want me to do the intro, I'd be
No,
happy
that's
to.
okay. I'll just take it since I have a room view, everything like that. Also in attendance is our city council liaison, Mayor Missy Waldman, Carlos Trejo, Director, and Jack Carswell, Planning and Zoning Administrator. So, welcome everyone. Appreciate you being here. Tonight, we're going to go through our normal agenda, but just to give some order to kind of what we do, we're going to start the night with public comments. And the expectation is that for public comments, you keep it to 3 minutes or less. And we ask for public comments to only touch on those things that aren't already on the agenda. So if you have something already on the agenda, just wait till that is come before you, and then we'll address it. So, and for anyone who's online, we'll always check that as well. Please raise your hand if you're there, but looking at everyone there, I think we have no one online right now. So with that being said, we are going to move on to new business. Well, actually, sorry, public comment. Does anyone have any public comments? All right, seeing none, we will move to new business. And item A, 2 Carter Lane, accessory structure deck exceeding administrative height.
All right, good evening, Commission. So before you tonight is 2 Carter Court. They're proposing doing around roughly a 223.8 square foot attached deck addition off of their newly built addition that was built around or in 2022. So they're proposing doing a deck. The reason that it's before you guys tonight is because it exceeds the height of 4 feet, which means it goes to the commission, which means it's subject to site plan, community design, and concept stormwater management review. The lot dimensions, it's about 23,700 square foot lot, around 0.54 acres with a lot width of 100 feet and a lot depth of 237 feet. The setbacks, there were no issues with the setbacks. The setbacks that are presented here were from the addition on the survey. The deck is roughly, I think, 1.4 feet inwards off of the rear addition, or sorry, rear elevation. So it doesn't even, it's not flush with that rear elevation. So there was no issues with the setback for the rear. This lot is on 2 sides of the street. On the north side, it has Grandview Drive, and on the western side, it has Carter Court. So they have 2 front yard setbacks. One being on Carter Court is 50 feet, and the one being on Grandview is 40 feet. Just some more history about it's part of the Warson View Plat 2 subdivision. The home was built around 1955, and that they submitted their plans for their addition in 2021, with it finalized in 2022. Staff did note that there were some open permits for the 2022 addition. However, we just wanted to note that in the condition that prior to submitting for building, all of those permits that are finalized or get finalized out. There was some stuff with county and some stuff with the addendum, but we think we got it all taken care of, and they just, as an addition or as a condition, we'll have to make sure that that's finalized before submitting for building for the deck. The addition is around 223 square feet, or sorry, the deck, which means it's not subject to, well, it is subject to concept stormwater management review because of the exceeding height, but because of the size of the addition, there's no BMPs required as part of this proposed project. The home actually does already have installed 2 rain barrels. In that photo on the top left, you can see them. It's kind of better in your staff report. The photo has it with the red squares around, but those rain barrels were put in place for the addition, and then they're still going to be present when the deck is there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. Mainly, it's just in front of you tonight because it exceeds the height of what would be required for review.
Yeah, it sounds like no staff concerns, just has to come before us over 4 feet.
That's
Yes.
correct. And Chairman, if I can just kind of identify why it requires that review. It was a recommendation by this commission and adopted by council of why we do this. When they did the addition a couple of years ago, that was all within the area regulations that have been allotted the staff to do administratively. So you never saw the addition come in the addition plans. And through our ordinance, staff was also able to require some type of stormwater mitigation. That's why those 2 rain barrel systems are in place. So everything was pretty much administrative, to the point to somewhere there was a change in plans. And then when the deck came in, the height of the deck triggered the commission review. If the original plans would have shown the deck, we could have, you would have had the whole thing before you. But in this case, it's just the overall height of the deck. And their staff reviews it to make sure this is not the elevation of the original building plan set. There was no door here in the original plans. So we didn't catch that at the very beginning. Things changed in the process but the reason we do it is because we've had property owners in the past that have expressed concerns when you have an overlooking deck from a second level and the intrusion on privacy or overview of their rear yard and all that. So we did take a look at those aspects, and you can see there's a considerable distance here between east to west. In there, I think I calculated it's over 150 feet in there, so it'd be minimal impact. So and then the next concern is with the neighbor to the south. And we looked at the topography because the grades do drop as you go southward, as you can see by all those lines. But you can see how they're kind of their planes are kind of jagged, so they're offset, and therefore we don't feel that there would be much intrusion of their use of their backyard and patio, based on where the deck is placed. If it was along this side, this is where we originally thought it was, we would have probably expressed a little bit of concern on that.
In this kind of situation, do mailings go out for this?
Yes,
kind of-
and then we did send out notifications to all property owners within 300 feet. And
Yeah, I think that went out probably around a month ago.
Okay, good. Any concerns from the panel?
I don't have any.
Rob, Dan, Daniel?
I don't have any concerns.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I think we're probably ready to make a motion, but I'll open it up if anyone has any public comments or the petitioner is here, wants to come forward, but I'm not, whether it's needed or not, it's irrelevant. But I guess if anyone had any comments or public comments?
I have one question. Ragsdale, are you in relation to Ragsdale construction? Okay.
Mike, microphone.
Okay, yeah, we're just making sure we didn't have a conflict of interest at Ragsdale Construction.
No.
So we're
Nope.
Clean. So, good point. Don's not here, so we appreciate you taking that role. So, all right, does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right.
A motion to approve the petition for site plan and community design review for a 223-foot or square foot deck as presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated November 21st, 2024, subject to any staff conditions noted therein.
All right, motion made by Laura Ragsdale. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Oh, I'll give it to Sam. Sorry. Second by Sam Waller. All right. Carlos, please call the roll.
Commissioner Rosenberg,
Approved.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Acting Chairman Lewis,
Approved.
and Chairman Drago. Who's on.
Approved.
All right. So the motion passes unanimously, 5-0. The next step is, and I think the application for the permit has been submitted in there. So that'll go under the Q review. And one of the conditions that was noted in the staff report, I think Mr. Carswell's had a discussion with the owner and applicant, is that we need to resolve the permit status on the addition.
Yep.
And there's some clarity things we just need to work out.
Close those out. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. We will move along to item B, 9504 Old Bonham Road. New single family home.
So before you tonight is 9504 Old Bonham Road. It's for a new single-family home that was subject to community design review and concept stormwater management review. It was not subject to site plan due to the lot being conforming with the code and having no lot deficiencies. It is zoned single-family residential. You guys will remember this because it was before you for the subdivision, for the plat subdivision. The preliminary plat was approved on September 8th, and the final subdivision plat was approved on October 17th. The lot dimensions are, it's a 23,619 square foot lot, around 0.54 acres, with a lot width of 112 feet and a lot depth of 200. Can't read that number from 220 feet. Sorry. So the only concerns that stuck out to us was about tree preservation in terms of, I remember that in the preliminary plat and the final plat, we had a condition that the developer would not mess with the trees until we had the site plan and the building plan sent in. Upon review of that, we noticed that there were some trees that were designated, I think it was Z specifics. Let me pull that up. Sorry. It was W, X, and Z, which is located in the front yard, the ones that Carlos is highlighting. Those were on the arborist report indicated as to be removed. But since we've gotten the site plan and our footprint of the home, we're just asking for clarification on why those would be deemed to be removed. So on the arborist report, they were listed as fair. But it could just be because of demolition or different utilities, but we would like to know, staff's just seeking some clarification on that. And then we would like to go, Carlos, could you go? Yeah, okay, there we go, sorry. So in terms of community design review, we had the stormwater information was sent to a consultant. The consultant has not come back with the results yet, but they do have a gravel pit down in the southeastern corner of the lot where Carlos is highlighting. In terms of lot coverage, the setback along Bowood Court is 25 feet. And the setback this is another home that has two front yards. The front yard along Old Bonham is 35 feet and the front yard along Bowood Court is 25 feet. The home is permitted to cover up to 20% of the total lot or up to 5,000 square feet, whichever is greater. The parcel size is 23,619 square feet, and 20% would allow the home footprint of 4,723.8 square feet. But the proposed home is only sitting at 3,558 square feet. So this is about a 75.25% of what they actually are allowed to have coverage for. We just wanted to make note that the home does have these two garages, but both garages are street side forward facing. The garage facing Old Bottom is set back 20 feet from the front building face. And the other garage is facing Bowood Court where the driveway enters and exits. But just given the lot orientation and the setback of the garages from the front building elevation, there were no concerns from staff pertaining to that design principle just due to the orientation of the lot and the design of the home. We already talked about stormwater management, and then the arborist report was submitted during the preliminary plating phase. And it was the condition that the petitioner may proceed with the demolition of the home with the understanding that the existing trees remain protected and undisturbed until the site plan and building plans are submitted. But now that staff has seen the proposed building footprint, staff is seeking the clarification on why those certain three trees, X, W, and Z, were still deemed to be removed. There were no concerns pertaining to massing, the roof of the home, and any of the other community design aspects. The only things that stood out was the tree preservation. And then of course, we're getting those stormwater calculations back from the consultant. I can answer any questions and then the petitioner is here as well.
So I guess I'm curious, you said we didn't have everything back from stormwater. Are we okay to proceed without that? Just 'cause-
Yes.
Okay.
The only thing we're asking them is to take a look at the calculations and any other recommendations, and we can coordinate with the petitioner once those come in.
Okay. And then to the trees, I agree with you. I mean, if their list is fair and on the map, it doesn't seem to be something that would impact, but we recognize we may not know until they talk. Could be utilities, could be, construction. But I feel like if it's construction, you could avoid one or the other. What can we proceed in approval with a condition to get validation and make sure that staff is comfortable with the answer.
It's a good question. Appreciate the opportunity on there. I also like to thank Mr. Wilmering to working with us. He avoided doing any impact to the trees during the planting process and the application. He's getting ready to now submit for the demo in there, and we'd like the opportunity to kind of work with him to see if of those 3 trees, if there are opportunities to minimize the disruption and keep them in there. I do know, like the tree on the far right, the lateral is going to be pretty close in there overall, and they are somewhat close to, they are in the buildable area. And if it wasn't for Mr. Wilmering pushing the house back and further away from Olive, I mean, he's got plenty of potential to go closer to Old Bonham, excuse me, in there, but he's pushed it back in there to give it a bigger front yard, and there's a potential to at least save 1, if not 2 of the 3 trees for sure. If he can't, or there is something to have the ability to work with Mr. Wilmering about the replacement or so in there. He's been very cooperative in this process, and I do appreciate, or do want to acknowledge him for that. Visually, and when you look at the circles, they should be okay, but that they're not reflective of the actual canopy. These things could be wider and longer. The one close to the sidewalks and the driveway may be that there is going to be disruption and there may be impact on those. This one here, and I'm sorry for the use yellow here. There may be this one. There's pretty strong potential. I think that one can be, the impact can be minimized. These 2 here, they may be pretty close to that foundation and the overdig, because we don't know the exact width of that canopy.
Okay.
Could you pull up a satellite view?
Sure.
While Carlos is doing that, I did want to note that the colored rendering that's on your screen is actually inaccurate. I just realized that the plan set you have in front of you is the most updated plan that you can see on that colored one, that there was no masonry, but that was a condition or a concern that I called out to the architect, and the architect came back with updated plans that were showing the masonry and the wrapping on all street elevation sides. So all of the material concerns and everything was addressed prior to the meeting, but I just realized that he had not updated the colored rendering until just now. So I'm sorry about that. But the plans you have in front of you and the plans that were on the first slide are the accurate material depictions.
I'm also curious I know we're only looking at one house now, and I know it's a split. How close to the house is going to be the 2 houses there? And is that a concern for us?
No,
Yeah.
they'll meet their respective setbacks, and we do have the plans for the house that will be proposed next door, if you want to see those.
Is setback, by setback, I mean like proximity to each other? Is that what you mean by setback on the side as well? I usually
Yes.
think of setback from the road, but you're talking the side as well.
Correct.
Okay. So they'll be within code.
Mhm.
Okay. Rob, does that get, yeah, so there's the trees. Is Carlos
Yeah, yeah.
the one you think that can be saved?
Well, if you can point out where each of the trees are, I think I figure out Z, but where W and X are.
There are these 2 here, and then I think this is the 3rd one. Because remember, the lot cuts right along here,
Yeah.
setback, so the driveway is somewhere around here. So I think you're looking at this cluster right here.
Okay.
So is the driveway going right through?
It'll
where those
be right
trees are?
around on this
Mhm.
this area here. Sorry that I moved that.
I'm thinking about.
Now, here's where I may lose those that are online, so bear with me, because while it'll switch on our monitors, it may not switch on yours. So now you should be seeing the site plan. And I'm going to go to the overall plan here. Commissioner Rosenberg and Commissioner Jurgel, you should now be seeing the site plan.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And you can see the properties here, 457 and 465. The driveway at 457 is about right here. right across from their driveway. Now I'm gonna go back to that Google shot. Bear with me, because again, I gotta make sure it switches over for you. All right, now you should see the Google shot.
Not yet. Oh, there it is.
Okay, and I believe that driveway is like right, here's 457 is about right here. Is where it's coming in. So these two are pretty close. So that third one's a little bit further down.
Yeah.
Now, when I go down to, let me grab bear with me. To street level, one of them's a coniferous. I mean, there's a lot of these, but it may be this one of these right here. It's kind of hard to tell you. Bear with me. This is one of them right here. It may be one of these two here,
And then
because this one is already shown to stay. See him okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna switch the view and go back to the site plan, then I can go back to the area you need be. You can see 1, 2, and 3, Y, X, W,
Mhm.
and then Z's over here. So Y, X, W, and then Z. Y is slated to be maintained. Now I'm gonna go back to the Google. Then you can see Y, X, Z, and W, I believe, if I got those letters right.
I think you got backwards. Z's closer to the middle, I thought.
This one is already, the arborist is already showing to stay. These two here are the ones in question, along with this one here.
Yeah.
I think the biggest concern is going to be this one and the proximity to the driveway.
But it doesn't have much of a canopy, so it might not be impacting the driveway. The other one, well,
Is that one's Z right there, the one you're on right now?
I believe so.
Okay.
I honestly think these are so close that it might be something that staff's gonna have to go out and field review where the locations of the driveway are. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And I guess I'm thinking if we're willing to pursue, we're putting the condition that staff work with the developer to authorize this and bring any concerns back, is what I'm
Correct.
hearing.
Our goal would be to try to maintain them or preserve them
Yep.
as much as possible, but if not, to work out a replacement program.
Okay. Anyone have any concerns with that on the panel?
Nope.
I don't.
Okay. Otherwise, we're good on masonry. We're good on the look. I mean,
Here-
having a garage face is, I know wasn't ideal, but that's for a second garage. And I guess I'm just asking the question. We have a 2-car that's facing the other side, but we have a 1-car facing Old Bonham, correct? Okay.
I just have a quick question. It's probably because I can't see it in too much detail. But it's like the design ornaments that are just above the center of the garage door. And then on either side of the window.
You should
Just
be seeing the building
Hey.
construction plans.
They look good, but I'm just curious what they are. Are they lights?
These here, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, no problem.
And you can see the elevations right now, correct? Just to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
I got a question. So do we know the color on the brick yet?
I think it would be Mr. Wilmerine's best to answer that. And Mr. Wilmerine indicated it's going to be a white.
Okay. So just like the color rendering, it's just now it's brick. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great.
In the
I don't
motion-
have anything else.
Yeah, I don't think we have it in the motion, but I think whoever makes the motion, just kind of call that out. I think it's an important part on the tree preservation.
Don't we want to
And it
hear?
is noted as one of the conditions.
It is, conditions, there it is, on this motion itself. Thank you. Okay, before any public comments? I don't see anyone online.
Well, do we need to hear
Yes.
from the petitioner?
Would you like to come up and speak at all, sir? And please, when you come up, make sure the mic's on, state your name and your address, please. No, not yet. There you go.
There you go, Mr. Wolf.
I'm Bob Wilmering with Boulevard Custom Homes and,
Address, sorry. For the record. Address, business address, or
oh,
home address.
business out of my house. It's 630 Pine Creek Drive in Town and Country.
Thank you. So anything you want to add, anything on kind of how tree preservation, anything?
Oh, I don't have a problem with those trees in front. I know in my arborist, he's thinking anything within 20 feet of construction, he generally says is going to die. And then the grade changes impacts the root system as well. So I'm assuming he's looking at that and going, those trees aren't going to make it. Now, why I tend to disagree with him, it's far enough away. I'd rather keep the trees because they're going to help sell downstream,
Mhm.
you know? But I'm pretty sure that's why he's got those other two out in front of the house marked to be removed.
Okay, but you're open to the condition of staff?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Meeting with you on.
I can even probably work with getting the foundation in and making a decision whether those trees can come down because they're still accessible without,
You'll know more at that point as
Right,
well. So,
right.
Okay, I appreciate
Right.
the willingness to work. It sounds like that's been a
Yes, sir.
theme. So that's great. Anyone have any other questions for the petitioner?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with no other people online, and no one else in the audience, does anyone have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Please.
Motion to authorize the approval of the petition for community design and concept stormwater management review for a new single-family home at 9504 Old Bottom Road as presented in the memorandum from the Department of Planning and Community Development dated November 21st, 2024, subject to any staff conditions noted therein.
All right, motion made by Sam Wallach. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, this time, Robert Jurgal seconds.
Guys,
Carla-
we're fast tonight.
Yeah, Carl, he was ready. He was ready.
I was
Carlos, do you
ready.
please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Rosenberg,
Approved.
Commissioner Ragsdale,
Approved.
Commissioner Wallach,
Approved.
Commissioner Lewis,
Approve.
and Commissioner Dragell.
Approved.
Motion passes 5-0. The next steps would be for the petitioner to apply for the building permits. The council did approve the recording of the plat. I think Mr. Wilmerin's taken that to county already. And we have the petition for the second home potentially on the docket for our December meeting.
Okay,
Good.
great. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. You too. All right, we are done with new business. We're going to move on to other business, the 2024 comprehensive plan update discussion.
This will be kind of combining that of the text amendment to talk about the trees.
Yep.
And there'll be a couple of things. So you have a separate memorandum from the department that kind of highlights some suggested changes to bring forward to you tonight. I forwarded a copy of the PDF to Ms. Powell. And there, I don't know if I sent out to Daniel and Rob.
We got a copy of it.
Okay, so this is just as a draft, and the goal here was what, from a staff perspective, what we need to get into codified into our ordinances is a requirement for a tree protection, preservation, and replacement plan. And we're recommending that requirement be added to chapter 425 or community design regulations. And the reason why is that for the most part, all petitions require community design review. Not all petitions require site plan review. So that's why we're saying that it should be here. And this would capture all new homes and all sizable additions and all sizable accessory works. Like if somebody did a big patio, a big pool, it would put in the requirements that we look at a tree protection, preservation, and replacement plan. In addition to that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's a great idea. That's good. I like it.
So all that does, though, just to keep in mind, is that saying that part of your submission requirements is to submit this plan in there. So we still haven't defined the scope of this plan, and I'll get to that in a second. We are also asking the commission to consider a further amendment to chapter 425 to modify the staff review time and how items get placed on the agenda. Right now, under the current criteria is there is for every commission meeting, there's a deadline date to be, to try to be on that meeting, and it's 30 days prior. And then when it comes in, staff has 10 days, 10 working days to consider it and to, to say if it's completed or not. What we're finding is that the 10 days is very tight, and it's not like we're trying to extend what we're asking for. It's just that the extent of our reviews have increased in there. So we would like to have more flexibility in the review time. And in this case, stating 15 days in there. In addition to that, getting away about this 30-day deadline, and instead saying that once we make a decision that the application is complete, that we will place you on an agenda within 30 days. So what we're doing, so like for instance, Tuesday was the deadline for our December 19th meeting. And we had 5 applications that came in all by noon, and that's okay. I mean, we know how to deal with it, but with a lot of these applicants are just trying to meet the deadline, and then we're trying to work with them to get missing components and parts and trying to get them in as best as we can in there. And that's because it's an artificial deadline, where if there was no deadline, we could have got one last week, we could have gotten one this week, we'd have got one next, everybody's just trying to meet a deadline that we've just kind of set in there. And I want to get away from that, but with a promise that we'll get you on an agenda within 30 days. And the reason we state that too is that we want to give the opportunity for the public to see the plans online for at least, within that time frame too in there. So it does a couple of things, but one of the main things is gives our staff, my staff, a little bit more time in the review, and it gets away from everybody trying to submit all at once. Because you could submit today, and it is possible you could be on the 19th agenda. It just kind of breaks and staggers that time frame.
I'm not sure. One of the things I don't understand,
Mhm.
I understand the why, the 15 days versus 10 makes
Mhm.
sense to me. You're doing more stormwater, tree. But you say you want to change it. There's an artificial deadline, like they had till yesterday to do before the 19th of December, right?
Correct.
Because it's within 30 days, is what I'm hearing.
From the meeting date, yes.
But you're still saying, but what you're saying now is they could submit on the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd. You still have a commitment to get them on a meeting within 30 days.
We have 15 minutes, 15 days to determine whether everything that we need is there.
Yep.
And then a guarantee that we will get them on a commission meeting within 30 days.
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
30 days of when?
From the date we make the determination the application's complete.
So it max
Perfect,
5 days for
perfect.
submission, assuming they passed.
Mhm.
Because you could wait on day 14, you could say you're missing things, go back and it resets the clock for them.
Correct.
Okay. I
And that's,
also,
yeah.
I don't know if it matters, but it says 15 days. I assume we're always talking calendar days then?
Yes,
So even if it doesn't say business days, does it?
yes.
Oh, I didn't see it on another one. Interesting. Okay. Or
Is
that
it business or calendar? I didn't.
business here is what Laura showed me, but I had looked
Business,
earlier and
okay.
I didn't see it on the
I might have missed it on the summary
staff
sheet.
summary. I didn't see it. That's where I was
Okay.
reading. Okay, so that's good. I'm glad to hear it's business days because
Yep.
otherwise I was gonna be thrown off on that because you run into holidays, you run into things like
No.
that. Okay, so you have 15 days. Assuming they make it in 15 days, you have within 30 days. It doesn't mean they won't be on the calendar within. Well, I guess the question is there a legal requirement that we post things X number of days before
Yeah,
hearing?
typically our agenda, well, it's 24 hours by code,
Oh,
but typically our agendas are posted the Friday before the meeting. So
Oh,
you have an opportunity
so-
to,
unless there's an exception, it's unlikely that 24 hours before you're throwing something on, unless there was a weird
oh,
exception.
exactly, yes.
But normally then the benefit might be that, hey, they came in, you guys didn't get it till day 15, but there happens to be a meeting in a week, you'll throw it on the agenda then, versus in today's world, that couldn't happen.
Mhm.
Okay, that's why you're doing this. It gives you flexibility.
In what? A last minute agenda item. Now, typically they happen the Thursday or Friday of the agenda.
Okay, I mean, do you see anyone carrying, or not carrying, but like, is
Not
this gonna be-
necessarily, I
there-
think some explanation. My goal is like, again, a lot of these people will sit on the plans and we just get bombarded on that Tuesday.
Yep,
Because they feel they all have to get it in there. And the goal here is just, hey, just to spread it out. Don't
Yep.
worry about the date. once we confirm you're complete, we'll get you on an agenda.
It-
In there.
Also fair to say there are some applications that are fairly routine, like maybe the deck one today, that you can say, okay, we got it. We can just put it on the next
Yeah.
agenda. We don't have
Correct.
to wait until the.
You know, it's gonna be a quick thing for us, so let's not make them wait 30 days if it's. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And then that gives us the flexibility that if there is a meeting cancellation in between, I would still make it within that 30 days. So,
And also, sometimes if you see 7 submissions, you don't have to put them all in the same meeting then, if you
Correct.
want to stagger it around, so, okay.
all right. Then the third component of this would be to create a new article in the zoning regulations, which is a different chapter. And under that article to define what tree protection, tree preservation, and tree replacement would be. So it defines the standards, the criteria for protection, and the replacement requirements. Again, this is just a draft, and in no way is this complete, but it's getting us towards that point in there. A couple of thoughts, and we'll get into the current text in just a second. I also have to be, consider like the expertise of my staff and how we do this enforcement and all that, because some communities have pretty complicated criteria of determining canopy sizes and all that. And then some communities and other places have pretty extensive tree species and lists. We would like to take a look at it of whether, like, if you have a tree that's from 0 to 8 inches in caliper, then you have a canopy, an assigned canopy distance, and those between 8 and 20 have this assigned distance, and those greater than 20 have this assigned distance. That way it's easy to manage. So this one may be 10 feet, this one's 20 feet, and this one's 40 feet. And my guys can go out there and that's all they have to worry about. They don't need the site plan. They don't need to get too complicated in the process. And then have a small list, a list of 5 trees that that we can easily learn to identify and know the species type and all that. And then, but still provide flexibility to the applicant that if they want to do something different, or there's other trees they want to consider, then it would be, hey, that's okay. Let's come back to the commission and get that approved, so that there is some process of overview in there, but it's also simplified for my staff to be able to manage and enforce it over time in there. Anyway, those are some general thoughts. And there, the protection criteria, I think that's pretty standard. I think anybody, as long as you got a ruler and a measurement and a demarcation line on the property, my staff should be able to ensure that the fencing is properly placed and all that. Some of the goal is, I mean, we do have a quality staff, but we have quite a bit of volume in there. And the goal here is not to create more work, but with the same amount of people to try to enforce something that would be somewhat difficult in there. And I think we can come up with some type of balance and not make it, and I don't want, complicated is not the right term, but not make it too complicated to try to figure out and enforce in there. We kind of simplify it and make sure it meets what our goals and objectives are.
I mean, reading through it, I think it makes sense. It sounds like there's more to vet out. One thing I read through our pack that you gave us last time, 'cause that's what I do for fun. And I liked what Creve Coeur also had on here, like if the replacement trees cannot be provided, because sometimes the house is too big or there's no way to put within things due to size constraints, creating a hardship, whatever that you approve, a payment in lieu of tree replacement should be made to the credit of the city's forestry account in the general reserve fund. Because what we talked about is, it's one thing to donate trees, but to your point, at a certain point, maybe we don't need more trees, which I find hard to believe, but it's possible. We'll get to a point maybe, but then there's the maintenance of those trees, because you have to prune trees to keep them healthy. You have to trim them. You have to fertilize them. You have to just make sure you need to pay an arborist to go around and take care of the trees. And when we have a big windstorm like last night, branches fall. Someone's got to take care of those branches. And if you don't get the dead branches off, you're going to have safety hazards in Stacy Park. So I thought that was another thing to add there that might be useful.
We'll take a look at that. And that's something we considered, again, kind of looking at phasing this, getting something into the books, coming back and refining
And-
this. And then in the broader picture, getting the council involved in terms of how do we do.
And
do
I like that approach.
that-
Walk before you run. Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's not get everything perfect in every scenario possible. It's just also showing the developers taking this more seriously, start doing what you can.
Right.
It's great.
When are we gonna require a certified arborist?
That would be done through this process. The goal here is, again, this is just a draft. We don't have any agenda items that would be scheduled on our meeting on December 5th. So we hope to have this a little bit more refined. Yeah, or the ideal goal would be to have it ready if the commission wanted to take action. But again, we have the Thanksgiving recess coming up next week. So I don't know how I'll be able to get that fully complete, but if not, we should be pretty close. That the second meeting in December, definitely, hopefully it would be ready for some type of action. It'd be great if we can get this all set and for you by next week, because again, we have to get the agendas due for on that Friday. So
Carlos, I got a quick question about that, I can imagine that we don't need an arborist for every project, especially if it's only a small addition or something like that. However, if they're replacing a house like we just saw, and we have an arborist, certified arborist come out, can't he measure all the canopy distances and all we're doing is just verifying those?
they can, but again, I mean, there's several layers in terms when they're out, when the inspectors are out in the field.
Yeah,
And they're to try to recognize, and if each canopy is looked at in its actuality, I'm trying to think, and then, either, right now, we still deal with paper out on the field. They got to be cognizant that this tree over here, it has a, a 35-foot canopy distance. This tree over here is only 12 feet. I mean, you can look up in the air and figure it out, but I'm trying to really skim this down that it's kind of universal and easy to apply.
no, I get that, but wouldn't the arborist do that?
If
Not
then,
your-
then it would be requesting that they go out on the field all the time. Is that
Who?
what the arborist?
Well, if for the bigger projects, yeah.
But I think it's arborist to also do the initial, they're doing it initially, Rob, but I think then the follow-up of verifying the plantings, verifying a year later that it got done, the arborist is
Oh,
out of the picture.
definitely,
I think
yes.
of that, I think, is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
Rob?
I'm trying to talk like during the process of construction and the monitoring aspect of it.
Oh, okay, I get that.
We don't have an arborist. I don't know. That might be something, again, in the long range, to go back to the city to get funding.
So maybe that's
to
where
have
some
an
of this
arborist.
funding comes in too.
Yeah.
And Daniel has his hand up.
Yeah. So, one thing that I always kind of think about or one thing that I've seen in most of these is we're talking about, and this doesn't have to be something that we get in the first round here, but a concern that I have is when we talk about canopy, we're looking at it in site plan, and that's 2D, but trees are three-dimensional. They have a Z direction, they go up. So a certain tree with, a 12-foot diameter canopy could be 100 feet tall, and maybe one like a willow or something that's like a 50-foot canopy is only like 25 feet tall. I don't know, but I'd like to see that considered as well, because there's going to be a difference in the replacement of those. Just something to think about.
Which kind of goes back to Carlos talking about the diameter, because the taller tree is going to have a much bigger diameter.
Well,
So
that's what I'm saying.
balances it out.
It might not. Depending on the species, it might be like the trunk might be wider, but the branch canopy might be narrow,
Right,
That's
right. But that's what I mean is if you base it, as Carlos is talking about, on the diameter of the trunk, basically, that will help capture, the potential height rather than just measuring the width.
So you're gonna take some of these comments
Yeah,
give more update on it.
and look
Will
into it a
you
little
break-
closer.
Will you break these up though for vote? I'm thinking maybe a suggestion is you break these 2 amendments up or 3 amendments. That way we can vote separately if you're not ready for one versus the other.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Because the 15-day one, I think, pretty, we can go. Like,
Yeah, right. We can do it now.
Yeah.
No,
I
and
don't think it was on the agenda fully to make a motion unless we can make that motion for you, but
no, and I think, again, this is just to get
Introduction,
get
yeah.
something out there for you guys to
Digest,
start looking
yeah,
over
appreciate it.
and going
Okay.
through. And Daniel, Commissioner Rosenberg, I may get in contact with you if you have time, and maybe we can talk this over the phone.
Great. Yeah.
Looking at that, I think that's a good point. Another thing, and it was kind of interesting in the presentation we had today, where Mr. Wilmering indicated, the arborist felt that it was 20 feet from the
Mhm.
footprint, and that might be, I mean, a professional opinion in there. I mean, whether it's made up or not, I don't know, but it sounds reasonable. And when you look at something like that, and given the size of our lots, I mean, that some of these applications of these tree ordinances like would work well in Creve Coeur, Town and Country, where you have 20, 40, 1 acre type lots, 20 feet here, if that is like a rule of thumb, and arborists are going to be very cautious in there, and, that means most of our lots, at least on the sides, couldn't, trees, any tree along the side is going to be within that 20-foot.
when you go from an 1,800 square foot home to a 3,500 square foot home and you're talking 20 feet around that,
Yeah.
you're taking all the trees down.
Wow.
That's what I'm trying to, I mean,
Yeah.
if that,
Yeah.
and their goal here again is,
Unless it's a half acre or something big.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember Tim even mentioning, like, he tried to save a tree near his driveway. He built his driveway around a tree and everyone told him he was gonna die, and it died.
Mhm.
And there might be, but again, to your point, is it an arborist who's very conservative and maybe someone else is now 10 feet? Or it depends on the species, or it depends on, are you talking a driveway, are you talking a foundation, you're talking a shed?
And what it comes down to, and let's say if no, it could be done within 10 feet, or, I think you can do it within 15 feet. No matter who oversees it in the end, the onus is on us. And if the 15 feet was too wishful, and it dies 2 or 3 years later because of what was going on, that it is a concern. I don't know how to balance that. And again, I think too, the arborist is possibly looking at the report to have, if you ask me for a professional opinion on a planning aspect, I'm going to be very conservative and probably follow the best rule, the one that I know that I'm not going to end up, the probability of being wrong is going to be pretty slim. So they're probably going to be very conservative. They're putting their name on it and stating something like that. And it may not always happen. I'm just talking about this.
Is there an outside resource that we might be able to contact just to?
We can talk to other, arborists or bring somebody in. And there's a lot of good information at MOBAP. The Parks Commission had a speaker. We also have a horticulturalist, and I couldn't tell you what the differences between the two are. That maybe we can ask if we can borrow to come talk to us one night in there. And then even I'm sure I could, the Olivet advocates have great resources or people that have a good knowledge on some of these things to talk to or even welcome in the discussions. So we'll take a look at that. But I do want to get something, something moving and in place as this becomes a bigger priority, both for the council and the community, and then have that broader discussions of what to do, because ultimately it could be, that it's in the city's best interest to hire and to create an arborist position. I don't know, that we seem to have 12 to 15 new homes every year. That's not counting additions or pools and all that. Then maybe there is a means in there to be able to support.
Split it with a neighboring community, I wonder.
That might be another option. So,
If we couldn't keep them full time, Creve Coeur, U City.
You mentioned like botanical gardens, maybe they could just even answer that question about like 15, 20 feet,
Mhm.
10 feet, what do they feel is best?
Yes, yeah.
And, I mean, in
I
their
also,
opinion.
I also think it probably depends on the depth of the excavation. So if you're putting a foundation in, you're gonna dig further down, they gotta step that or slope that excavation back. So you're gonna, potentially disturb more versus just a sidewalk.
Yeah, but botanical gardens might be able to answer that though as well. Like if a
yeah.
foundation should be 25 feet, driveway or sidewalk only needs to be 10 feet.
Yeah, I agree. It's just important to talk about the differences.
Right.
So
Huh?
some of the main objectives in this round is, again, is to get some specific items codified. And then based on the, our discussions and looking back on some of these meetings is getting guidance of what what are the criteria for the replacements. And that's what I hope at least that we can get, comfortable, get the commission comfortable that that whether it's staff that's following up on it or the commission wants the final landscape plan, that we can give some concrete information to the applicant for right now, that this is the expectation. And again, that's what we're working. Hopefully we'll have that for you in 2 weeks.
No, appreciate it. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. All right. Then we will move on to item C, meeting minutes, which I don't think we have any meeting minutes. Oh, yep, we did. I missed it. Oh, I did miss it. Then does anyone want to recognize the meeting minutes? I obviously don't, because I don't know.
I'll recognize
Thank you.
meeting
So
minutes for
recognized.
October 17th, 2024.
Hmm. Oh, they're hidden. Okay. Thank you very much for recognizing. All right, and then reports.
Just a couple of items. Our next meeting is on December 5th in there, and we'll kind of host it as a work session discussion in there. So we won't have any agenda items unless something comes up, in the next 3 days that is somewhat critical. But if not, it'd be just to kind of talk. Definitely the text amendment on the tree protection, preservation, and replacement will be there. There. December 11th, there's coffee with the mayor, and I forgot who the host is. It was, but it's a council. Okay. Who's the mayor? Huh? No. No, sorry. And then our second meeting of the month is December 19th. We did have 5 applications you indicated come in. 3 of them are houses.
2 homes, 1 addition, 1 pool, 1 accessory structure.
And that addition is pretty much is a new house. So and there. So, but we already went through them all, and Jack sent out review comments because we do have a short week next week. So he really did what he could to try to expedite, get those comments out and there, and emphasizing, of course, on the stormwater and then on the trees, making sure that they're aware of that. And then our first meeting in January, we had an agreement. The January 2nd meeting will be canceled. We posted that on our website. And there. Outside of that, unless there's any questions.
Missy?
Well, we adopted the comp plan, the revised and new comp plan last February, and here we are with, you're bringing information that probably could be passed by this body before the 12-month mark. And I'm always going to say that, yes, once you have the owner in the home, the owner can do whatever they want with the trees. And we all know that. We all know that. So I just really want to share 2 things. Yesterday, I was with I'm on the executive board of the Municipal League, and yesterday we had our meeting, and multiple topics were discussed, of 2 which I will bring up here tonight. Again, one is a grocery elimination of sales tax on groceries. Rumor is that someone will attempt to bring that up again. Our conversation has begun to be with the elected leaders, and one municipal representative reached out to the staff of the governor to say, look, when you do this, you're impacting public safety and police when you're taking away sales tax dollars. If you really want to do something about taxes, look at the entire income tax and let it impact every citizen of Missouri, not just those that have grocery stores. So we're trying to put in a little bit of some other ideas and get them away from constantly wanting to strip away from what are the revenues of local municipalities. The other issues is the user tax. Olivet, we're a great town. Many years ago, we passed the use tax. And St. Louis County hasn't, some other municipalities have tried in the past and failed, and they want to try again. So St. Louis County is going to attempt the use tax approval by the county, and we'll be part of that vote. And the effort is to make folks understand in the educational aspect that brick and mortar stores need some level of equal playing field with what is typically on the when you buy online. So there's going to be an education effort. It's going to be on the ballot in April, as far as I know at this point, unless the county pulls out, but it's not their intent. They didn't take care of it last year in a good education plan, format to reach the community. So they're gonna try that again. And we'll see whether it passes or not. Municipalities really need to, even like Olivet, I said, well, we have ours. Why do I need to be a part of this campaign? And it really was, the answer was, we need to be supportive of our brick and mortar stores and level that playing field of who's paying for what, when they purchase and where they purchase.
We already have our.
Oh, yeah, many,
But the fact that this gets voted, even if it gets declined, ours doesn't change.
ours does not change. Ours is already in the book. And I brought up the one about the people thinking that's double dipping. Part of that, and I didn't bring my notes, so part of that use tax that goes to the county, we will get a portion of that based upon population per the population we have in our community. So even when that passes, the city will get a little portion of that if it passes in the county. So, we just got to see how the voters feel about that, but that's what we're going to see in the April election, along with municipal elections. Beyond that, we all have turkey trot. I hope to see you there. I am blowing and making all the prayers to my weather angels that we blow the rain out and it doesn't happen in the morning during the race and when everyone's having fun and cleaning up. So let's hope we have some good weather, and I look forward to seeing everyone out there. We will have one more meeting, so I won't wish you a Happy New Year yet, but if I don't see you, have a happy, healthy Thanksgiving with your family. And thank you all for everything you do to make this community such a great place to live, work, and play. And I hope you've all gone to Domo and enjoyed your ice cream.
Chairman, two more items I forgot that we'll bring up for discussion next week or in our first December meeting. One is short-term rentals. We had that brought up at our last meeting, and talking with the city manager, we're going to try to draft or put together something for the commission to start to consider in there. And then we also had a request. One of our businesses that's moving into the Dillman Industrial Park wanted to place two monument signs on the property grounds because they're a unique property the way it's laid out, and our code limits it to one sign per property. So they're working with us to do some modifications to bring to the commission if it's something that they'll consider. So we'll probably introduce that also. Okay.
Good.
Again?
Okay. All right, Rob, I'm gonna call it, we're gonna close the PCDC at 7:59. Everyone,
Wow,
good night.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Good night.
Nicely done.
Have a good night, you two.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
You guys.
Hey, Brian.